How will you respond if you hear Jesus say, "Come, follow me"? Greetings, friends. This is Jim Orbe, and welcome to Pathways of Hope. Today is the 13th Sunday in Ordinary Time. The Gospel reading for today is taken from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 9, verses 51 to 62. The Gospel reading for this Sunday can be summarized into two parts, and both are in the context of Jesus journeying towards Jerusalem. The first part is where we find the people in Samaria rejecting Jesus when he was passing by their town. And the second part is where Jesus explains the cost of following him. And both these in the context when Jesus was set toward Jerusalem, when the days draw near for him to be taken up. Taken up can mean taken up to heaven. This can also mean the days draw near for him to enter into his passion, death, and resurrection. I would like to focus on the second part, the cost of following Jesus. And Jesus encounters three would-be disciples. The first person who volunteers, as the gospel goes, as they were going along the road, someone said to Jesus, "I will follow you wherever you go." The second person whom Jesus invites to follow him. The third is the person who is similar to the first, but has a condition. You might say this man is a conditional disciple, if you may. Let us take note of the word follow that plays a key role in each encounter. To the first, Jesus said, "The Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." This is Jesus's challenge to a would-be disciple or a would-be follower, reminding him that the path of following Jesus is not easy and comfortable. To the second, who was invited by Jesus to follow him, he said, "Let me first go bury my father." To go and bury a deceased parent was an important duty, and Jesus clearly upholds honoring one's parents. You can find this in the other Gospels. The request seemed reasonable on the surface, but this man's first response was not to obey Jesus immediately, as others did, but to make an excuse for not following him. Many biblical scholars observe that burial in Judaism at the time of Jesus often involved a year-long period from the time when the body was first buried until a year later when the bones of the deceased were placed in a container box. Though this was a basic family obligation, Jesus is teaching the priority of the kingdom over family. Leave the dead to bury their own dead constitutes in which the word dead mean both spiritually dead and physically dead. Here, Jesus insists that following him must take precedence over every other relationship and obligation. And this does not imply that Jesus' followers can never care for their family obligations, but when they do, it must be out of obedience to Jesus, not instead of obedience to Jesus. In this man's case, Jesus was clearly not his highest commitment. To the third, this man's half-hearted discipleship begins with a but. He said, "I will follow you, Lord, but." But Jesus does not permit this. Jesus' summons to discipleship takes precedence over everything else. Jesus insists on the radical commitment required to be his follower. No one who sets a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. So, how about you? How would you respond to Jesus' invitation to follow him?